How's it going?
Doing good, doing good. How you doing, man?
Not bad. Not
Enjoying?
bad.
Not bad. That's good.
Not bad. That's what I said.
But are you doing okay, Mark?
Yeah.
Don't you love it when someone asks you multiple times how you're doing, even though you gave them already an answer?
I said I'm okay. Yeah.
It's just like, what didn't you get about the tone of how I answered you that I don't want to discuss this anymore?
Yeah. I'm not a fan of that question anyway. How are you doing?
How are you doing?
What's going on?
What's going on?
Even though I think that I asked you, how are you doing first?
Yeah, you did.
It's yeah, sorry. It's a common just social thing as people say, how you doing?
Yeah, it's you're just being nice and friendly, which I understand when that is initially asked, because it's basically just like, all right, how do we start this conversation or whatever they're about to do?
Yeah. Let's come up with an alternative.
Well, you could do it with an inflection like, how you doing? From
Yeah.
the guy from Friends.
Right, Friends guy.
Yeah, I feel
How
like, what's
you
that?
doing? How you doing?
How you doing? It I feel like you're probably on the right track, that we should replace this, small talk common parlance with
Yeah.
something that is just, maybe it's nonverbal. It's just something you can just be like, by doing this one thing, we just can skip over, like, "Oh, I'm fine. How are you doing?" "Oh, I'm okay." Like, just the
Yeah, what's the thing that's after that? I guess you just start with a statement.
right, like, if me and you are both EMTs, right? And
Mhm.
we respond to a 911, we respond to a 911 call,
Yeah.
and we both get there, and it turns out it was a prank call, and
Uh-oh.
the cops are there, and they're arresting the person who faked called in a 911, right?
Mhm.
So we know each other, we know of each other, maybe we went to EMT school together or something, but we don't work together all the time. And so we're just like filling this dead space of, like, we're both here. We're just kind of making sure everything's okay. And then we're going to go back to what we were doing. But in the meantime, we're just like standing shoulder to shoulder next to each other.
Yeah.
So in that instance, I would be like, hey, how you doing?
Oh, I feel like I would say "That's a nice house."
This is a
Something
nice,
like that. Yeah, just whatever we're standing looking at.
yeah, I feel like if you challenge yourself to eliminate the small talk or that kind of preamble to the conversation that you want to have, or that you're there to have,
Mhm.
I'd be curious if people could do it, or if the person, um
We would have to make like a nationwide announcement somehow. We would have to get on like
Bill
public
Maher.
access.
Yeah,
Yeah, Bill Maher's public access show.
yeah.
And then
But
it's
I think people would just be like, "Oh, well, Mark, he's pretty blunt. He gets right to the point."
this guy, a
This
meat
guy.
and potatoes conversationalist.
You're just kind of like, "Hey, I'm just trying to get to know you," and you're just like, "Nope, I would like to know how much this gas costs."
Yeah. Tell me how much this gas costs. I'm all about prices. How much does this house cost? How much does this gas cost? How much
I
does your
mean,
outfit cost?
yeah, absolutely. Those are the necessary questions
Oh, I
we
think
don't
that's a
need a
good one. If you're
preamble to.
like, where did you get that shirt or something like that? Because don't we all put so much time in like figuring out what to wear and like shopping, and we buy a new shirt and you just want people to notice. So I feel like anything like that would be
Yeah,
like,
like, you know, well, in that instance too, you could maybe cut out the, like, them asking you about the shirt, and just like wear it with a price tag, and just be like, "This costs $40," just in case you're wondering. But I'm
yeah.
not telling you that. You just look.
It's a good idea. What
But
about
is
at like parties and stuff? Do you have an
ooh,
out for a conversation with a conversation that's going nowhere? That it's just
right.
like something like that, because we all know that's small talk. That's not going anywhere. Like you're not
Absolutely.
gonna dive into anything deeper with that person who you're complimenting their shirt.
I have like a built-in, let's say 20, a solid 20 minutes of
20
like
minutes.
this, because and it's a list of things, not like an actual list, but it's just like, all right, we'll do where you're from, what your job is.
You have
um
Terminator vision, and you're just going through each
I'm
one of
just
those.
checking the boxes.
Yeah.
No, but I would say like 20 minutes, and that's like there's literally 5 people at this party, and I'm talking to the one nerd in the corner, and everybody else is in the pool hanging out, and I'm like, how do I get there?
Yeah.
But I'm waiting for, my roommate to come with my swimsuit so that I can hop into the pool, right? So I
Sure.
got this time where I'm like, I gotta keep busy. So I would say 20 minutes is like the max of like, I can just kind of keep this going. After 20 minutes, I would probably, if it's a party, I'd just be like, oh, I'm gonna get a refill. I'll catch you later.
Oh, I'll come with you.
Oh, okay. And
You ever
then
get in?
and then we both get to wherever we're making drinks. Well, I guess
Mhm.
let's clarify the situation. Am I the primary driver of this conversation, or are they
No, I think
bringing
it's
things to it, but it's just like a wet blanket? It's just like, we're
I
not
think it's
going anywhere.
definitely
We're not
it's this
digging.
guy. This guy saw you,
Yep.
and he's like, oh, he sees everybody's in the pool, right? He sees you're the only one out of the pool.
Right. Yeah.
The two of you, you're out of the pool because you're waiting for your bathing suit. This guy's out of the pool because
Because he
I
has
don't know if
asthma and he
he has
can't swim.
asthma. He's afraid of he has body issues, and
Yeah,
he's afraid. He doesn't have an extra white T-shirt to wear inside the pool. That's
exactly.
gonna get see through and stuck to. Is that something that everybody understands? That reference of the kid who wears the T-shirt in the pool?
I feel, yeah, absolutely. And adults too. Like, obviously it's a kid thing, but I you definitely see that adult, whether it's at the beach or at the pool, you know, with the t-shirt on and the swimsuits.
Yeah, it can't be comfortable. I think what is that thing called? Like a swimsuit or something? Not a swimsuit. A you
Bodysuit,
know what I'm saying? A
like a
surf
wetsuit,
suit, like
a
a
wetsuit.
wetsuit.
Yeah.
Ah, that's what it's called. A wetsuit.
Apart from a swimsuit, which is also still a wetsuit,
A rash guard. You
a
have
rash
like
guard.
one of those. Yeah, one
Oh
of
yeah.
those like
So
Under Armour things on.
so you're spending this time with this guy or this gal, and they're
Yeah.
boring you to tears, and now they're following you to the drink table, right?
Hmm.
So you exhaust. My initial one is like, all right, I went to the drinks, and if they're following me, and it's just like there's no connection, we're not really digging beyond the surface level conversation. It's clearly this is as much as it's going to be. I will start, using the big guns.
Right. And what are the big guns?
Excuse me, I need to go to the bathroom.
Oh, I'll come with you.
And then I would be like, no, please don't.
But I gotta pee too.
Well, then wait after me.
We're friends now. Friends pee together.
So if I exit the bathroom and they're like, you know, like a homing missile locking on back onto me to like re-engage the conversation,
It happens, yeah.
it does happen. But then the ultimate big gun, you could call it the nuclear option, is just to be like, hey, I'm actually gonna head out. I'm heading home.
Oh, do you want to split a cab?
Oh no, I walked here. And I
Do you
prefer to
want?
walk here because I haven't hit my 7,000 steps for the day yet. So I got to do that.
Oh, okay.
And then immediately while that's happening, I'm putting my headphones in and I'm like walking.
Wait. Can I have your phone number?
I can't hear you because I have my headphones in. Well, part of it, I think if this is someone who's like clearly desperate for like human interaction
Yeah,
and
I don't
human
know who this
connection,
person is. This person is
a cartoon, this is a Mad TV character.
yeah.
Because I feel like most people, let's say it's at a bar and it's a group of friends and there's some friends of friends associated. So you don't know them, but they're clearly friends with someone else at
Mhm.
this bar or this party. Yeah, I feel like most people you can kind of, give the Heisman and just be like, all right, that was, about as much as we can do right now. And then let's move on.
Yeah.
And you're like out of the corner of your eye, like looking at all of your other friends who are like crying from laughter and like telling great stories. And you're just like, fuck, I wish I
Must
was
be
right
must
there.
be nice. Yeah.
Must be nice. Here I am being a good person, talking to this person who no one else wants to talk to and are actively avoiding.
Oh, they're avoiding this person?
Well, usually those people are, they're the turd in the community pool, so to speak.
Okay.
And it's just kind of like, oh boy,
Mm.
you're Debbie Downers,
Yes.
you know? What would you
Yeah.
do in that situation? You're in the same pool party at home,
Okay.
at somebody's house.
Yeah.
Everybody's in the pool. You and, you know, this person is here. Let's say you're in the living room and you're having a conversation and you're like, I got to get out of this conversation. What's your first step?
I think I left something in my car. Would you excuse me for a sec?
Oh, well, do you want your keys? I was holding on to them for you.
No, the door's open.
Okay.
It's
Well,
an
I'll just
old,
come
it's
with you.
a,
Oh,
a
what is that? A
93,
Mazda?
a 93 Mazda.
That's cool. My dad had one of those.
Yeah, look, I really, look, shit brain, I really gotta get in there.
Is that like, see,
No,
I
I would
always
never.
hesitate to do the conflict side of that, of like, hey, stop, you know? Because it always comes off more aggressive and more mean than you really intending, right? You
Yeah, I
just
don't
want
think I've ever
space,
done
and
that.
I haven't either. I've always done the coward's way out and just like abandoned the party and all my friends.
Yeah, just to get away from one person.
Yeah, it's just like, "Hey, Mez, where are you?" And I'm like, "Oh, sorry, I left 40 minutes after I got to the birthday party, but you know, I left my oven on, so I had to go home and turn it off. Sorry, I'll catch you next time."
Hmm.
But that is, if you were trying to eliminate the preamble, the small talk or whatever, in a situation like that, you would have to just like walk away or get real deep.
You mean like ask just a super
Yeah,
personal
get
question?
personal and get to it.
Yeah.
But it also, I don't know, not every conversation, not every interaction has to be like a moment and, meaningful and all this stuff.
Right. What are you looking for in this conversation? What do you want from me?
Yeah. Sometimes it's just like, I don't know, we're just moving air between us,
Yeah. Killing time.
killing time.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Do you ever feel like you've been on the other side of that? Where you're the one that's like you're just completely oblivious to it? I
Yes.
guess the thing of somebody walking away, like you would know
Yeah. Well,
that that's the end of this.
and I think it depends also on how self-aware you are about certain things like that. I think when I was
Yeah.
younger, I was definitely less self-aware, and especially if it was in a romantic situation where I'm like, I'm interested in this person, but I cannot clearly see that they are not reciprocating that feeling towards me.
Mhm.
So I've definitely been guilty of the kind of like trying to make conversation or trying to hang around to try to see if there's something there, but there's nothing there. And
Yeah.
and kind of not really recognizing that look in their face or in their demeanor or them walking away to hang out with other people, that is just like, yeah, it's just not what this is in your mind. And
Right.
I think now as an adult, I'll definitely notice that, where it's just like, all right, yeah, they're just not interested. And I will sometimes proactively jump the gun and just be like, all right, peace, dude. I know you're not interested, but I'm going to take all of the power away from you and just blow you off.
Because it's
Even though
all
I
about
would
power.
love to continue to talk to you and get to know you and your, you know, and your dog or something.
You're aggressive towards that dog.
Yeah. But also, I guess certain situations, like if you're on a plane or if you're at work, there's certain
Oh
ways
God! If
where
somebody talks to me on a plane, I'm gonna fucking open the emergency exit and jump out. It's
right.
it's the worst thing because you're stuck in that.
Exactly.
That is so terrible.
And I feel like that's a situation where you're like, hopefully it's not a super long flight, but there's a good chance you'll never see this person again. Whereas if that person works with you, you just quit the job. You just have to.
Yeah,
There's no
yeah.
way, because you have to be nice because they're
Change
your
your name, move
coworker.
away.
Yeah. But the airplane is, that's when you really have to like start establishing boundaries. Like immediately, even if it seems like a very friendly person who is very self-aware about like just doing this very small talk here, but we're clearly not going to talk this whole flight. I'll just go into the defense mechanism of sitting down and like putting my headphones on, maybe closing my eyes, just being
Yeah,
like, all right, I'm establishing boundaries here. Whereas if it's just kind of like, oh, is this your seatbelt? Oh, no, that's mine. And it's like, oh, okay. Well, you just do that little dance at the beginning. And then sometimes people are like, oh, do you want a piece of gum? And I'm like, oh, no, thanks. That's fine. And then you're just kind of like, is that it? Or is that the beginning of things to come?
yeah. But sometimes if you engage, then that's like a cue for them to
Yeah.
keep going. I hate it because it's just such a stressful thing to like travel to like fly somewhere.
Right.
I had a dream the other night that I went to Italy, but it was only the stressful part of being late for my flight and
Right.
packing last minute, and that was the dream. I was heading to
Wow.
Italy, but I didn't get to that part.
Would you consider that a nightmare and not a dream?
Yeah, that's a nightmare. Definitely.
Yeah, there is something about that when you're dreaming where it's just like, I mean, theoretically, you should be able to do and think and see whatever you want in your dreams, but your
Hmm.
brain for this moment is just be like, we're just going to focus on the thing that makes you so
Yeah.
anxious and so stressed out, and that is the totality of this dream. And you're going to wake up forgetting maybe any of the good things in it, and you're just going to remember these panic-inducing moments.
Yeah.
Sometimes even it'll be so real that you'll be like, "Oh my god, did that happen? Or is this happening in the moment?" I've had that where I was like, I thought
Oh,
something
in
of
a
someone
dream, yeah.
else, and I was just like, and I said something to them in the dream, and then, wake up and maybe like a week later or whatever, I'm just like, "Wait, did I tell them that in to their face, or was this a dream?" Like, it's just like such a weird disconnect. And then how do you live your life if it feels so real in your dream that you're like, "Oh, I actually did this."
Yeah, what if we're dreaming right now?
Whoa. What if we're
Ooh.
dreaming right now, bro?
That's a bong.
That's
That's-
yo. But, people who, uh, let's say, have a bong, they probably love small talk because they're so stoned and they're just like, "Yeah, it is warm outside, man. It's so warm. Isn't it weird how the sun makes it so warm?" And you're just like, "Oh, fuck. Where's my swimsuit? I just want to fucking get in the pool. That is another situation where you kind of have to, you're forced to kind of have some interaction. Let's say you are interacting with someone who has items that are not necessarily legal in your area, and they're providing you a service. And there is this kind of a social norm of like, hey, how's it going? Oh, yeah, how's your day been? Because ideally, you just want it to be purely transactional. I want coffee. Here's your coffee cup. Thank you. Here's some money. And then boom. But when you have like a situation where it is, you kind of need the trust of the other person, you kind of have to have that small talk, that kind of like, are we cool? Is everything good?
Right.
Because at any moment, I guess either one of you could kind of flip.
Yeah. I guess it's better to be able to be social.
Ugh,
But overrated.
overrated. Totally overrated. I mean, that's the whole thing with this with the Pandy, is that
Hmm.
you kind of
Panda Express.
the Panda Express, you get to see who really can handle, you know, being social less.
Yeah. And people have just given up with the whole safety thing,
Yeah,
where it's
absolutely.
just,
Who needs safety? I'm a bad boy.
oh, you're an anti-masker, right?
I'm an anti-masker, anti-vaxxer, anti-Obama, anti-truth, anti-mainstream media. I don't believe in things that people tell me. I have to see it for my own eyes. That's my belief.
Sure, a man of science.
Absolutely. No, I think it's weird because no one really knows what's going on. The doctors have like the best insight, but they're still kind of like guessing based on the limited evidence they have, which is like the perfect um, stew for people to just make up whatever they want. It's just
Right.
like, well, if there's really no authority to say what is truly right and what is truly wrong, then it's just like, I'll fill that void with my bullshit.
Yeah. I I'm always worried that I have facts wrong. That I'll, because like things will come up in conversation. I mean, we've known each
Yeah,
other for a long time. Or something will come up that I'm like, oh, I like read that and I watched it, but I don't really remember it,
right.
the specifics of it. But I'm gonna start this sentence anyway, where I'm
Yes.
explaining something, and then I have to bail and be like, I don't know, I don't remember it correctly.
I feel like I would
But
do
it's all
that.
just bullshitting until
Right.
somebody like calls you out on it and is like, well, I don't think that's true. And that person might be the jerk in that
Absolutely.
situation. If it's just like, just let this person have that moment.
But also, unless that person is an expert, but even if they're an expert, we're in a time where like conviction matters more than the truth.
Well, and it
So, of
happens all the time with politics where you're
course.
like, I guess because people just want to seem like they're smarter than you, or like
Right.
they know. Everybody wants to be right, and they're telling you that you're wrong. Because if you're like, I mean, I don't
Absolutely.
know anything about politics, but if you're like, the White House was built in this year, and then someone's like, actually, terrible example.
Yeah, I know what you mean though. It's like,
Okay, so it's not a terrible example because it's like, well, why are you even correcting that person?
right. I think when there are things that, and this is kind of where
Also,
you,
that's not politics. That's
yeah,
like
exactly.
architecture.
It's history. There's
Yeah,
either like, the thing with history is it either happened or it didn't. And so like if the White House was burned down you know, in the War of 1812 and was rebuilt at whatever sometime afterwards, that either happened or it didn't. And, you know, recorded history would say that it happened at a
I don't
certain
know. I
period
didn't
of
see it with my own eyes, so I
time.
don't know that I believe.
But I think that was an argument you couldn't really have maybe 10, 15 years ago, where you'd be like, well, no, obviously this was constructed at this time because that's what happened. Whereas the discussions between opinions and I feel like this is the right way to do it, not that way. Those kind of discussions that were always rooted in my conviction versus your conviction started to bleed into, well, this truthful thing might not be true if I have a strong conviction against it, or
Hmm.
it is something I don't believe in. So I have a strong conviction disbelieving it. And that is the in a time like this with the pandemic, but also with like the protests that are happening and everything like that, it gives people an opportunity to just, you know, get a blanket, cocoon themselves and be like, this is the reality that exists. And I don't really have to argue one way or the other because my conviction can overthrow your truth or even your conviction.
Right.
And then it just becomes a match of who's yelling louder.
Yeah.
And it,
That's. I
yeah,
mean, yeah, that has just gotten much worse, especially with like Twitter and stuff.
ugh, yeah,
Which is
just
all that. Twitter is the worst part of any conversation. They take the parts that of conversations that are uncomfortable,
right.
and it's just like right there. That's all
It's
you
right
get.
there. It's right there in a way that I feel like normally when you have conversations like that are uncomfortable in person with family, with friends, with coworkers, whatever, there's there's not an ability to just kind of shut down. I mean, there is, but
I
it's
mean,
much
yeah, you
harder
could
to
just
shut down face to face.
right.
Like I don't mean shut down like I'm canceling your opinion. It more of like I'm not engaging in this discussion. Whereas Twitter, you can be like, here's my thought. I might go back and forth with you for a little bit, but that's it. Or I might not even want to discuss this or discuss that. And in person, it's a little harder to do that. But also,
Mhm.
like, Twitter's an abomination. It's terrible. What's worse is being in person and talking about things on Twitter. That's maybe the worst thing ever.
Yeah,
Where you're having
it's
a
like we've run out of. We're talking about the internet,
we're
which
talking
is
about
a
the
thing we
internet.
do in between in person.
Yeah, it's something we do when we're on the toilet or we're waiting in line for something, and now we're having a conversation about this. It's basically like, you know, playtime.
We have no experiences outside of the internet because you spend most of your time on the internet.
Yeah, and it's very unhealthy and not really I don't know, like, I talk to people who are like, "Oh, I get a lot of my news and my information," and part of me is just like, you can get that not on social media as well.
Right.
Maybe it's a little bit harder to see some of that stuff, but it's out there. I think the thing, at least in my opinion, that people love about it so much is that they don't wanna feel like they're missing out, and
Hmm.
at least for Twitter with like the news stuff or Instagram with like the experience or whatever stuff, people don't want to feel like something was happening and I didn't know about, which
Yeah.
is weird because then you just kind of tweak your brain to require and need that kind of immediacy. And yeah, it's not healthy because then when you go into real life and you're having a conversation with someone, you're almost like, "Yeah, I wanna do this thing. I wanna hear this thing. What's the, you know, kernel, whatever." And there's no small talk. There's no flow to it. There's no none of that. I guess we're coming first full circle.
So maybe that's the thing then is don't read any, like, don't read all the news or something like that. I mean, now it's like we're stuck inside, so, but like
Right.
in the past, because who knows what things will be in the future. In the past, what we should have done was not read all the news, and then in a conversation, you can have that person who so badly wants to
Right.
tell you the news without you having any corrections or any like
Yeah, that could
opinions
work.
on it.
I feel like if we brought small talk to social media, it would make social media better.
Hmm.
Because if me and you have diametrically opposed opinions on social media and we're about to both go in on the opposite sides of this Trump tweet or whatever, but if I had, before I called you an asshole and you called me a dickhead, I had to be like, "Hey, how's your day been?
Yeah,
What weather's really warm,
you
right?"
have to have a certain number of short exchanges
Right.
before, and then that builds up how many characters you can put in your
Yeah.
tweet.
But I think it would change the dynamic because instead of me just like verbally, attacking you or, discrediting you or whatever, I would almost have to have a conversation with you before we could then, throw knives at each other. But,
Hmm.
and I feel like in person, I don't know, maybe that was more of the thing in the past, but because Twitter and Instagram and social media has just proliferated so much of our daily lives, there is less of a sense of like connecting with someone on a human level to then get to the points where we're diametrically opposed. Because
Yeah,
at
what's it
least
gonna be like when like this is over? Are we all gonna have to
it'll be
like
worse.
readjust? Yeah, it'll be. We won't know how to have those
I mean, even
human
kids
interactions.
now who are pretty much growing up on phones and online, it's like you see with attention span, you see it with interaction. Like there's a whole like movement of how people um talk to each other, date each other, get jobs, all that stuff that is so between the screens that it
Hmm.
is like I don't know. I'd always my parents or my dad would just be like, if you want to get a job, just like go into the business and be like, I'd like to apply for a job.
Yeah.
And that's just like how it used to be. And there's
And now
maybe
they'll be like, "Go to our website,
yeah,
weirdo."
go to our website. 5,000 people have already applied for this job that we posted 1 hour ago,
Well, I remember
and
doing that
maybe
in
we'll
high
pick
school,
you.
going into like a retail store or whatever. Hey, can I have a job application?
Right.
And then they would give, because there, I don't know, I guess there wasn't a way to do it online, or
I th-
computers were new.
right. And there is something about that where, yeah, it shows initiatives. You can, if you're hiring, you can now see this person and kind of get a sense of them based on their demeanor, how they're interacting with you. Whereas in person, I mean, online, it's a guess. Sure, they wrote a bunch of stuff. You could, you know, eliminate the people who don't know how to spell certain words or whatever, or don't have
Right.
the experience. But ultimately, you still are guessing until you meet them in person. Like I had a job interview. I was applying for like a bar back position at a bar that was like a new bar, and I sent my application in. They gave me a call. Like the management company was just like, "Oh, the manager of the bar is going to call you, and we'll figure it out a time to meet up in person." They call me, and within 5 minutes, they're just like, because I was going to be a bar back, they're like, "Do you have any interest in being a bartender?" And I was like, not really, but maybe in the future. I don't know." And they're like, "Oh, we think you would be a really good bartender." I'm like, you don't know me. You never met me. We just met 5 minutes ago over the phone, but they're making like all of these assumptions. And then we meet in person, and whether those assumptions are, validated or not, it's still an assumption. I might come in there, you know, with my Guns N' Roses, cut off tee and my Daisy Dukes and just be like the wrong atmosphere for this bar, but they
Yeah.
already offer me a
This is a
bartending job.
midtown cocktail bar.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm here to make the drinks.
I'm here to make the drinks. You guys ever heard of a rusty screwdriver? But
I haven't.
but
Here's a jug
if
of
I had gone
moonshine.
in person, they probably would have been like, "Oh yeah, I get a sense of who you are. I feel like you're someone who we could potentially groom and do different things with in the company."
I don't think they care about that for like restaurants and stuff.
Yeah, they just want bodies.
They just, yeah, because the turnover is also so quick. People leave
Right.
and come back all the time.
That's true. It was just shocking to me. It was the first time where I was like making full, judgments and assumptions about somebody before, I've met them.
Yeah.
It's weird, but people do it all the time now, especially because it's like, well, what other way are we going to know?
Right.
The Pandy,
The Panda Express.
the Panda Express.
Hopefully it's on its way out.
Hopefully. What, the restaurant or the virus?
Yeah, hopefully that restaurant closes because I don't think I've ever had it.
There's a weird part of me that wants to kind of, because I feel like malls for sure are going to be very devastated by
Oh yeah, nobody's gonna.
people are not going to be, people might go to malls, but like those businesses might not survive. Like already my favorite department store is going bankrupt, JCPenney, and talk about a sad day in this house. But like, I
What
don't know.
makes JCPenney different from Macy's?
Oh,
I don't really know.
The deals, so many fucking deals.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you ever just like want to go and buy a pair of pants for $3.42, like you can just go to JCPenney to do that. They got good deals.
I have enough pants.
I would love to.
I don't need any more pants.
All right, well, I'm just gonna go get a drink. If you, I'll catch you later. All right.
I already have a drink.
No, it's for me, the drink. Actually, I'm just gonna use the bathroom. How about that?
Me too.
Oh man. All right, should we get started?
Let's get started.